Hey there, good evening, everybody. It's me, producer Scott here, brought to you by myself, I guess, for now. Just finishing up the oh my, just finishing up the end of the Georgia Notre Dame game. Looks like Notre Dame's going to hold on, and it's not even really hold on. They're just going to win. Looks like Notre Dame's going to win. It's 23-10 right now. A minute 45 to go. Sorry, my voice just cracked. That was really bad. Um, Less than 2 minutes to go in the game against Georgia. So do a quick rapid reaction since this is the first um, big time bowl game that Notre Dame has won, I think, since the 90s. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody. I know nobody's jumped on here yet with us, but we'll get it going here in a second. I'm waiting for a couple people to jump on before I really get started. Why is my computer not plugged in? Oh, I don't have my desk plugged in. Hang on. There we go. That would have really sucked. Jeez. Georgia just can't do anything. If it sounds like I'm sick, it's because I am. So that's fun. Oh, hey, look, there's one eyeball. So with my one eyeball, I guess I'll at least get started. So this is the After Hours with producer Scott on the Coach's Corner of the Heck and King channel. So here we go. Am I even on? Oh my God, I'm not even on. Hang on, everybody. Sorry. Plug in my stuff. There we go. How's that? Is that better? I think that's better. All right. I don't even know if my video played. That's okay. Whatever. Anyway, here I am. It's After Hours. Gunnar Stockton just got sacked again. So Notre Dame's going to win. They just sacked him on fourth down. So yeah, anybody, this is pretty much just comment in and I'm going to talk about whatever anybody else wants to talk about. I think my dad will jump on here in a second. I may call my friend Shaq, who's the receivers coach at Ball State, to talk about whatever. And we'll get it going. So, I mean, Notre Dame just came out. Notre Dame won this game in the middle 8 minutes, right? The last 4 of the first half and the first 4 of the second half. They scored 17 points in the span in less than a minute of game time. So that won the game for them. I mean, you obviously can't take away points off the board, but if hypothetically you were going to say, oh yeah, take those points off the board for Notre Dame, that Georgia's just kind of surrendered, then it's 10-6 right now, and you're talking about one of the biggest stinker games of all time in the playoffs. But you're talking Alabama, LSU 9-6 type deal. But Kirby's going to go down, and I guess now with Oregon getting their butts kicked last night and Georgia really kind of as a no-show today, I think a lot of people may ask that is the bye a bad thing? I mean, Lane Kiffin had complained about it a couple weeks ago. I mean, Lane Kiffin complains about everything, but is the bye eventually going to hurt people? Oh, they're going to give Marcus. They gave Marcus a Gatorade bath. Good for them. I love Marcus Freeman. Marcus Freeman's awesome. So, and this is great for Notre Dame. They're going to play Penn State. So we have our Final Four. It's Ohio State, Texas, and then Notre Dame, Penn State. So a great draw for the North in football. Anybody that says the SEC is a superior conference, at least this year, they are very, very wrong. The SEC got manhandled by a lot of teams. I mean, Texas needed double overtime to beat Arizona State yesterday. And now, granted, Fighting Cam Skattebo's, they showed a lot of heart yesterday. I was impressed because Texas came down and scored on, I think, their first 2 possessions, And I think that game could have gotten ugly really, really quick, and Arizona State kind of hung in. But um, Notre Dame Penn State's going to be really interesting because I think both teams' strengths are strengths of the other team. So I know Penn State's front seven on defense is really good, and Notre Dame's uh, running game is obviously very good. I'm still waiting for, and I don't know if anybody really did it today. I'd have to go look at the box score and everything. Um, I really don't know how well Georgia, because my thought is put 7 men in the box on Notre Dame and dare Riley Leonard to try to beat you with throwing it, because I think he was like 15 of 25 for 90 yards today. So I think the jury is still out on Riley Leonard as a passer for sure. But I mean, Notre Dame did what they needed to do to win, and they did. So I mean, it's a great win for them. Hang on, I gotta blow my nose. I'm sick again. Sorry. But people that are watching, I mean, what did you guys think of this game here this afternoon / this evening, and what do we think about Notre Dame versus Penn State? Because like I said, I think both teams do the same things. They both do the same things well, and I think maybe Georgia didn't have a quarterback. Like Gunnar Stockton, I think had a decent game, but I don't think they really had a quarterback all year either. And Carson Beck was good last year. He wasn't very good this year. So I don't know. It's so weird this side of the bracket with Notre Dame, Penn State, Georgia, and all them, because you have to run Oregon or Ohio State or Texas. We're gonna have to run an absolute gauntlet to make it to the title game, and then actually win the thing. Whoever wins Texas Ohio State next week is definitely going to have to have earned it. But I think people were talking. People had been talking crap about Penn State's path, and Penn State's path wasn't very difficult on paper, but Texas was even less difficult because they played Clemson first round, and I think Clemson was, Clemson was like 15th in the actual poll, but they won their conference, so they obviously get in. And then Arizona State, I think, was 12th, and I think Boise, or SMU for Penn State, I think maybe was 10th, and excuse me, who did Penn State just play the other day? SMU and Boise, was up there a little bit too. So let's see. Q. Stockton was not ready for primetime. Notre Dame's defense, even with key injuries, controlled the Georgia offense from the opening kickoff. I agree. I think, yeah, but like I said, Georgia didn't have a quarterback. And I don't think really Georgia had any skill position guys, because they led the country in drops, and you saw it on full display earlier because the one guy had probably a touchdown. It wasn't a touchdown, but I mean, it was right in his grasp. He catches that, it's a new thing. But you're seeing why Georgia led the country in drops. This Georgia team was not the Georgia teams of past. Now, they were still really good. They won the SEC. But I'm starting to think, man, if this Georgia team won the SEC, how bad was the SEC this year? Because like Illinois went out there and beat South Carolina yesterday, and everybody thought South Carolina should have been the other team to replace, or the team that should have gotten in instead of SMU. And then South Carolina loses to freaking Illinois. We'll when we get back to the regular coaches corner, we'll call our guy Darren Pritchett and have him talk about Brett Bielema punking Shane Beamer, because I thought that was really funny. But we can maybe say that for another day, or if we want to talk about it a little bit more. I don't know what else there is to talk about that whole thing, but we'll talk more about this Notre Dame thing. I think, like I said earlier, Notre Dame won the game in the middle 8. Excuse me. I don't know why I keep getting sick. It's so annoying. Because they go down and score, right? And I didn't even see the first touchdown in the second half because we were in the other room, um, painting my, um, daughter to be's bedroom closet because we're redoing her closet. Um, but yeah, Georgia just couldn't get out of their own way, and I think the thing that I say the middle eight won Notre Dame the game, and then when Marcus wholesale subbed the punt team and then put the offense back out there. I mean, that's a stroke of genius from Marcus Freeman, who, by the way, remember who Marcus Freeman's college football coach was? It's Jim Tressel, and Jim Tressel loved him some special teams, and so you have to think that I don't know. Jim Tressel is somewhere hanging out in Youngstown right now, smiling ear to ear. Oh, I am getting a cough drop from my wife. Thank you. That is the producer of the producer show. But Georgia had a chance. I mean, they got off the field because there was no way, even when Notre Dame's offense went back out there, they weren't snapping the ball. Because what if? You always play the what if. What if Notre Dame snaps that ball and it goes over Riley Leonard's head, or they just don't convert? And then you're like, oh crap, we just gave Georgia the ball back at like the 20-yard line. Now, granted, Georgia's offense couldn't do diddly crap, so I'm not even totally sure they would have scored. But you don't take that chance in that instance. And then Georgia bails them out. They jump. Game was over right there. Georgia only had one timeout left, I think. And with like 6 minutes left, Georgia wasn't going to be able to score 13 points in 6 minutes with one timeout. So I'd have to go back to look. I got to look on the box score on this to figure out what actually happened on the oh, they ran the kickback. So to end the half, Notre Dame gets a field goal to make it 6-3, and then I think Georgia fumbled, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Georgia fumbled. Notre Dame gets it back, and then the first play, Riley Leonard throws a touchdown to Bo Collins, 13-3. Then they run the kickoff back to start the second half, and then that was the game. I mean, Georgia scored. Gunnar Stockton threw a touchdown pass, and that was it for Georgia. So, yeah, I mean, Notre Dame's defense came to play, and I kept thinking all week that maybe, just maybe, this is the week that finally the injury bug catches up to Notre Dame, and they can't overcome it because Georgia's so stout up front. And I mean, Georgia, for the most part, played pretty well on defense. I didn't think they did anything crazy to lose the game for them. Let's see. Gunnar Stockton was 18 of 29 for 225, a touchdown, and no picks. So I mean, it's not bad. And Notre Dame ran for 125 as a team. Riley Leonard threw for 88 yards. So hats off to Notre Dame. They won the game. I don't know about their offense. I don't know if Penn State's defense is as good as Georgia's. It might be. But I also don't know if Penn State's offense has enough skill to make Notre Dame pay for not having the offensive firepower. So, I mean, Notre Dame made the Final Four. I don't know. Do we think that making the Final Four now in this iteration of the college football playoff should count for something? Like schools hang a banner in basketball for making the Final Four. Like I feel like getting to the last, being one of the last four in the college playoffs now is, I mean, it's no small accomplishment. Like I said earlier, Notre Dame hadn't won a major bowl game in like 30 years. Let's see. Riley Leonard had 14 rushes for 80 yards. So I thought, oh man, it's so hard to. Oh wait, why did this not update on ESPN? What is going on? No box score available. What the heck? I'm trying to get the stats, man. I don't know. Somebody else leave a comment. I'm just talking to myself now. I'm waiting for my dad to get on. Q, what do you think? Q, are you still on? What the heck? I don't know why this is not giving me the. I'm kind of curious what the spread will be for Penn State and Notre Dame, because I really think it's pretty even. See, I know. I don't know. We do the show every week with Heck and my dad, and they talk about Notre Dame, but really all I know is I know Riley Leonard, I know Jeremiah Love, I know Jordan Faison, the other running back. I don't know why I'm all of a sudden blanking on his name, but I feel like I know a lot more about Penn State than I do about Notre Dame, and so Penn State's got a really good 1-2 punch at running back. I know their offensive line is huge. So and Drew Aller's good. Drew Aller's better than Gunnar Stockton, but I think Penn State and Georgia's skill at wide receiver is about even. I don't know. Penn State doesn't have any wide receivers that make you pee down your leg like you as a corner, like you would if you had to go against Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Ibuka. Let's see. Q, what's up? We lived through Indiana versus Notre Dame already. I feel like we're heading toward Notre Dame, Ohio State for the whole thing. Call it Coach's Corner Armageddon. Yeah. Yeah. It very well could be. And like I said, I don't know, because Penn State put up a bunch of points against Oregon in the Big Ten championship, and I think Oregon's defense is just as good as anybody's. Excuse me. Oregon's front four is really good with the two ends, Matewi Uiagalelei and Jordan Burch, and they were like no shows yesterday against Ohio State. But Penn State put a bunch of points on them. And I think Penn State will be fresh because they haven't really been challenged so far in these first two games. So I don't know. I think Notre Dame will probably be favored, but it's a game against two notoriously choky teams. Well, one notoriously choky coach in James Franklin, and a program in Notre Dame that hadn't won a major bowl game in 30 something years. So, and it's in Miami. So, I mean, it's not going to be really a home game for anybody. But I'm going to the Cotton Bowl. I mean, I live freaking 10 minutes from, not 10 minutes, maybe 45 minutes from Jerry World. Oops, sorry, just bumped my mic. So I don't know. I'm kind of running out of things to talk about just by myself. I texted my dad. He should be getting on here in a second. Well, I mean, what do people think? What are we more impressed by, or what are we more taking away from this game? Georgia's offensive ineffectiveness because they just were ineffective, or is Notre Dame's defense really that good? But so my take on it is, I think it's such a cop out, right? Two things are true at once. Notre Dame's defense is good, and Georgia's offense this year was not very good. I think they were. I think I heard on one of my shows earlier in the week, Georgia's EPA per play the last 2 years, they were like 2 years ago, they were like 10th. Last year, they were like 12th. And then this year, they're like 45th. So they didn't have a very good offense. And they didn't really have any weapons. Lad McConkey and Brock Bowers are not walking back through the doors down there in Athens. And I don't know. I don't know how their skill positions look for next year. Oh, there he is. Here he is. All right. Now we've got some. Oh, he's getting on. Putting his headset on. You hear me?
Yes, I'm good.
All right. Ooh, not very loud.
Me? Do I need to change something here?
Yeah, your audio on the computer.
Okay, hang on. I haven't even looked at my adjustments yet. Settings.
This is called working through.
This is called jumping on and not ready.
This is called working through things live. Q. I thought Bulldogs passing game would be ineffective at best. The fact Georgia couldn't run the ball at all, didn't see that coming. Yeah, Notre Dame could stack the box because Georgia couldn't throw. So that was definitely an advantage for him. Let's see, well, he's getting that figured out. Meanwhile, I'm sucking on my cough drop.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm not on any of it. I'm trying to get to my settings. It won't even let me get to my settings.
So I really think Gunnar Stockton's stats were, I think, a little bit misleading because he had to throw the ball a lot, but they didn't really do anything with it. 20 of 32 for 234 and a touchdown. Riley Leonard's passing stat lines are hilarious. 15 of 24 for 90 yards and a touchdown. But you can't start the second half with a returning the kick. I mean, that just killed him. See, Georgia was 2 of 12 on third down. That doesn't help. They were 0 for 3 on fourth down. Georgia only ran the ball for 62 yards. 29 attempts, 2.1 per carry. Notre Dame had 10 penalties, but Georgia fumbled the ball twice and lost both of them. So that's going to kill you in these close games with good teams. Can't turn the ball over, and it obviously cost them because Georgia fumbles there at the end of the first half, and Notre Dame scores, and away we go. That was it. Thought with the injuries in the middle, Notre Dame may have given up a couple of runs of Bulldogs, but not so much. Yeah, they gave up what they gave up. Maybe they gave up one. I remember for sure, but yeah, I mean that was it. I really thought Georgia would have been able to run the ball a little bit more with Trevor Etienne, but they really couldn't. And I think even with Notre Dame kind of depleted in the front, in the defensive front, like they could just load it up and say, here, Georgia, beat us. If you beat us throwing the ball, all right, so be it. All right, here. I think he's back. Let's see. Does it work yet?
Well, I'm trying. It's just on my computer. I don't know why I can't get it on anything else right now. The settings won't even adjust. It won't give me a chance to hit the settings.
Is it plugged in?
So, something's not working right tonight. It's in the computer setup because when I go down to my instructions here where it says settings and everything, I mean,
is the board plugged in? That'd be the thing, right? If the board's not plugged in, that'd be the hilarious thing. They just showed a shot of the Notre Dame locker room with that trophy. That trophy is absurd. It's so big.
Yeah, my hookup's bad. I'm literally on my computer. I just need to, I guess, live off the computer tonight. So let me shut this off and we'll just do it that way. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. You're just talking through the computer.
Yeah, well, I may just have to do that. I don't know why it didn't work, but does that help any?
No,
Oh,
it's about
I
the
mean, I've got
same.
everything. Okay, I've got everything set up. It just, for some reason, let's see where my.
Oh,
Yeah. All right. Well, who's on? Who's on with us?
it's just been Q so far. Throwing a couple
Okay.
comments in. Well, I don't know.
Good.
I've just been talking to myself. I don't know what my takeaway really is from this, whether it's Georgia's offense is really bad or Notre Dame's defense is just that good.
I think
I'm
you
not,
found out how good. I think you found out how good Notre Dame's defense is. They, I thought they were pretty aggressive, considering their
I,
bigs were hurt. Their two inside people were hurt. One didn't play at all, and the other got hurt there in the fourth quarter.
I'd have to look it up because I think I'm trying to have it both ways because I still think Notre Dame's defense is really good, but Georgia's offense has been bad. Like they've been
Yeah,
really bad, and they don't have a quarterback.
yeah. They tonight their offense I thought really struggled. And if you look at it, Notre Dame really didn't do anything special offensively. They did just enough to win. They scored those points. They took advantage of the mistakes. You know, they got that fumble right at the half, but they scored 17 points in less than a minute.
Yeah,
If you
that's what I kept harping on is Notre Dame won the game in the middle eight.
Oh, in the middle, the last one,
The middle
first
two.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. I mean, they scored 17 points right there. So you figure points off of turnovers was very important tonight. So
Yeah. So I'm looking at it now. This is off of teamrankings.com. I don't pay for PFF stats because I think it's a ripoff, and I wouldn't really have a chance to use them a whole heck of a lot anyway, just because Heck never lets anybody else talk. That's okay. We love Heck. Don't get it twisted. We love Heck. He's got a lot of good stuff to say. Georgia was 23rd in points per game, 43rd in yards per game, 23rd in points per play, 40th in yards per play. Like their offense is, ugh. But again, Notre Dame's defense all year has been really good. I was my whole thing earlier a couple weeks ago is I put together my stat sheet for Riley Leonard as a passer because I don't know, Riley Leonard may not have to pass the ball to have Notre Dame make it to the national title game because I don't think are they going to have to pass the ball to beat Penn State?
I think that game will be very similar tonight. You know, I'm looking here. They scored, you know, as we said, 13 in the second. What they had a field. One of the things that helped them too was
The field goal kicker.
their field goal kicker. Their kicker was
It was
back.
3 for 3.
Yeah.
And he made some good ones. He made like 50,
They
48?
They were 40. Yeah, they were 40 plus.
48, 46, and maybe 42. Like they weren't short kicks. They weren't Brandon Aubrey level kicks, but I mean he had missed those previously.
Well, yeah, and you know he hadn't played in the last several games because he's been hurt.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal too. All right, there I am. Let's see. First downs. Georgia had 16-14. Third down efficiency for both teams was terrible. Fourth down, both teams were over on fourth downs.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Total yards, Georgia 296, Notre Dame 244. Their first touchdown was off the fumble. That was a short field, 20 yards total. And then a kickoff return. So yards from scrimmage. I thought Georgia did a really good job of shutting down Notre Dame's running backs. The problem is they did not put a spy on Riley Leonard and or Leonard Riley, whatever. Which
Riley Leonard.
Yeah, Riley Leonard mixed up. But he was the one that ran loose and really didn't have any big gains, but a lot of 6 yards.
He had a long run of 32. That helped. But yeah, I'm looking at it now. Jadarian Price was 10 for 37. Jeremiah Love was 6 for 19. Riley Leonard was
Yeah.
14 for 80.
And I thought right there in the fourth quarter, they did a good job of changing formations and some of the other got some of the other people involved. They got what's the lacrosse player's name, the wide receiver. He ended up running the ball a couple of times. He ran the ball a couple of times and got some good yardage.
Yeah, I thought he had a good game. Brady Quinn on Twitter was very, very excited for Faison.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Q says early line Notre Dame -1.5, which is kind of what I thought it would be. I thought it would either be a pick'em or Notre Dame -1 or 2.
Yeah.
Because I think Penn State and Georgia are really kind of the same team. I think Penn State can run the ball a little bit better than Georgia can. Because I was looking at it earlier. Penn State's offensive line is freaking huge. I think their 2 tackles are both 6'8".
Yeah.
And Katron Allen and Nick Singleton both like torched Oregon when they played them 3 weeks ago. So I don't know if that's going to hold true because Notre Dame's defense is good. But man, these offenses today were just terrible.
Well, yeah, and I think they were victims of product of some 2 very good defenses.
And Georgia's got a lot of NFL guys.
They were both of them a little conservative now, probably. But I'm looking here. Probably the biggest, thing here. Georgia had 2 turnovers. Notre Dame had 0, and because of that,
because that fumble at the end of the first half.
Notre Dame scored 10 points off of those 2 turnovers. And I was looking at the highlights. I did not see the play that Georgia had where did the guy score a touchdown and it get called back because the referee ran into somebody on the sideline?
No, it was just a long game.
It was a long run, put him in a scoring position.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but that was supposedly I read the thing. That was a walk-on quarterback or something. He had a jersey on, but it was in sweatpants. He didn't have a uniform.
Yeah. Yeah, he was dressed, but he was not in pads.
Yeah, wrong play at the wrong time. He took 1-2 steps out into the white zone, and that referee was right there and just ran right into. Can't do
that. So here, Penn State doesn't throw the ball very well. Well, they do. Drew Aller's good. Drew Aller has his moments where he absolutely looks like dog crap. But Drew Aller can sling it. The only problem is he doesn't have any receivers, which is funny. Which is kind of funny because Drew Aller's from Medina, Ohio, and I think Ryan Day picked C.J. Stroud over him, so I think he made the right pick. But like Drew Aller's from Ohio, so and Ryan Day picked a dude from California, but Penn State points per game is 19th, yards per game is 19th, points per play is 12th, yards per play is 8th. Third down conversion percentage is their 11th. Red zone scoring percentage, which kind of, is a big stat, especially with Notre Dame being as good on offense as they are. So even if Penn State gets down there, Penn State's red zone scoring percentage is 32nd. They run it pretty well between Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. And Tyler Warren's a problem, I think, for anybody. Notre Dame's going to have to really dedicate some guys to Tyler Warren.
Yeah, and I think that what you're going to have now for the next 7 or 8 days in preparation for that game is people, just like what we're doing here, reading stats for the entire season. Now I think you're looking at playoff numbers, kind of like you do in baseball when you look at, into the playoffs, how a guy's hitting during the the wild card games or into the the divisional playoffs and stuff. Now we need to just look at 2 game stats almost, because if you notice, the top 4 seeds are gone. And I thought to myself when this thing was drawn up a couple of weeks ago that the best 4 teams might be 5, 6, 7, and 8. And I think that's what's happening.
Well, because next year they're gonna have to redo the seeding, because you can't have, and this format of the playoffs was agreed upon when Oregon was still in the Pac-10, when the Pac-12 still existed, when Texas and Oklahoma were still in the Big 12,
Right.
when you still had Oregon in the Pac-12, Washington, SC, all those teams. When you said, okay, these 4 conferences that we're going to say get buys, you were expecting the conference champ to be Oregon, Oklahoma, or Texas, Clemson, and take your pick of Big Ten team, Penn State, Ohio State, whatever.
Yeah. So your 4 or 5 conferences, as you said, would have been the Big Ten, the SEC, the ACC, maybe.
Right. But now you're talking about it.
Big 12, Pac-12. Well, that's not how it ended up. Now we're looking at other conferences.
Exactly. Well, but then you're talking about the Pac-12 doesn't exist. It's Washington State and Oregon State.
Sure.
And the Big 12 is Iowa State, Arizona State, Colorado, BYU.
Right.
And then the SEC is Texas, Oklahoma, A&M, everybody else. And then the Big Ten is now Oregon, Washington, USC, and then the traditional Big Ten teams. So they're going to have to reseed it and just say, hey, if you win one of these conferences, you're guaranteed in, but the top 4 seeds are going to get the buys. Because we can talk about the Ohio State Oregon game in a little bit once we kind of put a bow on Notre Dame for tonight. Oregon and Ohio State should not have had to play each other in the second round, or Oregon should not have had to play Ohio State. Ohio State got what they deserved because they lost in the rivalry game.
That should have been a Final Four game. That should have been a next week game.
And Penn State shouldn't have had SMU and Boise to play.
Right. Well,
I am curious to see, because Ole Miss and Duke just started. Lane Kiffin has been talking a lot of talk lately about the SEC and the committee getting it wrong with all these teams. So if Duke beats Ole Miss, it will be the perfect ending to this postseason
conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that would have mean that.
What's funny is I turned 2 basketball games on. So
yeah, Purdue and Minnesota are playing right now. Also, I want to talk about Ohio State basketball for a second, because November 30th was like the worst day in Ohio State sports history. You lose the football rivalry game, and frankly, they got embarrassed, because it's a worse loss than, I think it was 1997 when Ohio State lost. It was what was it? I think it was like 13-8 or something, 13-9. I think they kicked 3 field goals, basically the same score. And then, so on the same day when Ohio State loses in the rivalry game as like 20-point favorites, the basketball team goes and loses by 50 to Auburn, basically. And everybody is ready to be like, okay, this is why we don't hire from within for a basketball coach that's never been a head coach before. And then all of a sudden, a week and a half later, everybody's on cloud 9. Basketball team beats Kentucky by 20, and the football team beats the brakes off Tennessee. So I don't know. I mean, I think anybody that really knows me knows that I fell in love with Ohio State basketball first. And then I was like, oh, Troy Smith's really good. I guess I'll cheer for them too. But what a day that was. What a redemption day that was for the basketball team to beat Kentucky the way they did.
And in the defense of basketball, anything that goes on before Christmas, you just kind of use it as a learning process. Now that we've hit January, just like tonight, we're sitting there watching, Purdue and Minnesota just started at Minnesota. So we'll see how they are. And then after that is Illinois, and I believe they're out at Oregon. So there's a game.
Big Ten country, Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah, I hear you. So
I say it every time I go out there.
After that.
I love Eugene. Eugene's a great city. It's cool little town. Shout out to the Graduate in Eugene. The hotel's really nice.
Yeah, be interesting to see that the Notre Dame people piling out of there tonight. Their travel plans have all changed and stuff like that. A lot of them are probably heading for home tonight. The ones that drove, they'll drive. Some of them may drive all night and get home at breakfast. Others may drive, 4 or 5 hours here and stop someplace north of Birmingham and get them a hotel room and come in tomorrow. So you
think they'll sell out the Orange Bowl?
There'll be a lot of people there.
I think it'll be pretty full. I don't know if they'll quite sell it out, though. Although I know Notre Dame's fan base is all over the place.
Yeah, they showed tonight they travel, as did Georgia.
Georgia was a home game, basically.
Sure.
Athens to New Orleans is, 6 hours maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's from the hometown. That's right. Well, hey, why don't we jump and hit one of these other games? How about the early game yesterday? Let's talk about Arizona State, Texas. And hit that one a little bit.
I thought Texas was going to destroy them after they scored in 2 plays to start the game.
Yeah, it was so easy. They'd run 3? They ran 2 plays, touchdown, and then they ran the punt back. They had 14 points and had run 2 plays. And if you looked at time of possession, I think that's all they had the ball the whole first quarter. Arizona State was putting up time of possession. I mean, time of possession was 38-22. They had the ball. Arizona State had the ball for an entire quarter more than Texas.
Yeah.
And it was 17-3 at the half.
Yeah.
And 17-8 at the end
going
of 3.
Into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, but that was a big warning sign, I thought, too, because that told me Texas really did. Their offense took a nap.
Texas's offense is very confusing because Clemson was the worst defense overall in the playoffs, and Texas ran on them really well in the first game, but Texas's leading rusher only had 45 yards. Quinn was 20 for 30 for 322, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Sam Leavitt was 24 for 46 for 222 and an interception, which was the interception to end the game.
That was the end of the game, right?
Yeah. Cam Skattebo. We'll talk more about Cam Skattebo in a second.
Wasn't he something? Yeah. But
he was. But
Arizona State had over 500 yards of offense.
Yeah. I thought for sure the way Texas jumped out on them, because I'm looking at the game cast right now. DeAndre Moore, 23-yard pass from Quinn Ewers, 2 plays, 77 yards, 45 seconds, 7-3 Texas. Silas Bolden, 75-yard punt return, 3 plays, 2 yards, 14-3 Texas. Bert Auburn from Flower Mound, by the way.
Right.
Which, he was a little rough yesterday. 17-3 Texas going into halftime, and you're thinking, okay, Texas slowed down at the end of the first half, but I don't think anybody was really questioning that they would control the game, and then all of a sudden, Texas goes up 24-8 to start the fourth quarter. They scored again with 10-17 in the fourth quarter. You're like, okay, 24-8 with 10 minutes left. They're going to have to really do something incredible, and I mean they did. They really did, because
scored 2 touchdowns and had 2 conversions.
Yeah, which I think is even more crazy. And they were wide open on the 2-point conversions too. They weren't even hard. Cam Skattebo, 30 carries for 143 and 2 touchdowns. 8 receptions for 99 yards. Also, he had 242 all-purpose yards. That dude was a man possessed.
He was everything, wasn't he? And he passed the ball. I mean, everything.
Yeah, he had a completion, didn't he?
Yeah.
1 for 1 for 42. Oh yeah, he threw the first touchdown. Mm-hmm. That's right. On that trick play. Yeah, that got him.
They ran a trick play. So and if you think about it, if you go to the overtimes, was it the 3rd overtime?
They only made it to
that
two.
They're two, but Texas was 4th and 13.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, in the first overtime, 4th and 13. The game was over.
Yeah.
And you were made a play. And instead of going first, they went for the touchdown. And if you remember, Arizona they went cover 0 for whatever reason, and they blitzed, and they protected against the blitz.
Ole Miss just threw a pick,
and they were open.
Ole Miss just threw a pick. The Duke guy ran it back to the 40. Ole Miss had it 4th and 4. They ran like the swinging gate. The punter takes the snap and throws just like a lollipop into the end zone. Duke guy intercepts it, runs it back to midfield. Great job, Lane. Love it, Lane Kiffin. You're doing great.
Well,
buddy.
and you're going to see, people are going to be taking gambles now. If you remember, we said in the Notre Dame game said that the third down efficiencies were not good, and the fourth downs were like offers just here
even
a few
worse
minutes ago. Yeah, I'm looking here at the down efficiencies in the Texas game. Texas is 5 of 13 for third downs. Arizona State was 10 of 24. Pretty good numbers. Fourth downs, Texas is 2 for 2. Arizona State was 3 of 6, which is pretty good itself. I mean, those are two very good numbers for fourth down efficiencies, just to show you the quality of that game. That game was 39-31, and today's game, wasn't. So I thought that was obviously the most exciting game. And like I said, Texas was one play away from losing that game in that first overtime. And then they turned around and started the second overtime, one play, touchdown.
Yeah, they won.
So they scored twice, like boom, boom.
Yeah, they went back to back.
Yeah, and made the point conversion. And then one thing led to another, and Arizona State couldn't score, and they win. So I mean, that's how those overtimes are designed. And that's why some coaches don't want to go to overtime. They want to try to go for 2 if they can and win it in regulation.
The overtime is such a crapshoot because especially if you get past the second overtime, you have to go for 2. And then if you get into the third overtime, you're basically doing penalty kicks on 2-point conversion tries.
Yeah, exactly.
We saw that with the Georgia Tech game, a month ago now.
6.
And they went to 6 or 8 or something
6
stupid.
or 8, whatever it was. I know it.
And I think that Georgia team that should have lost to Georgia Tech showed up against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Did you? Okay. How about the targeting that wasn't in the Arizona State game?
That was face mask to face mask, what it amounted to. It was not the crown of the head, but it was face mask to face mask. Is that still a penalty? I say yeah. I say yes.
Well, and all the talking heads that are former referees in college, and like the ESPN rules guy, and I know Gene Steratore, and everybody loves Gene Steratore, Mr. Index card guy. They all said it should have been targeting.
I thought so too.
And I think if that's targeting, like Arizona State goes down and holds the ball and probably kicks a field goal and wins in regulation.
Exactly.
I mean, you can't live on hypotheticals, because if you lived on hypotheticals, the SEC would never lose another game. And as we're seeing, the SEC is not very good in actual games, so that's why they have to only rely on hypotheticals. But I digress.
Well, how about today, Notre Dame?
It should have been targeting.
How about Notre Dame early in the game? The same guy runs over the punter twice, plays road, and for some reason the guy was calling those running into the kicker instead of roughing the kicker, even though he hit him with his leg. Was, to me, when you're like still in the motion of kicking and you hit the guy's kicking leg, and that's roughing the kicker.
I think the letter of the rule is if you hit their plant leg, it's roughing the kicker. If you hit their kicking leg because it is, sticking
extended
out, it's easier to hit. Then it's just the 5-yard variety. But the rules guy on ESPN, on the first one at least, the rules guy on ESPN was like, by the letter of the law, I guess you could call it running into the kicker, but he hit him really hard. It wasn't just like incidental contact. It was like he freaking ran, like hit him hard. Like I thought, and this was Georgia's backup punter. And I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, after the first punt, I'm like, did he just get injured again? Or not this guy, or is the Georgia punter getting it injured and Georgia's going to have to find their third punter? Like, can their place kicker punt?
They have to figure something else out, aren't they? I know. Well, let's go to your other game. How about your Ohio State team? I thought they just ran off and hid from Oregon.
I mean, it's Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah, I mean, it was 34 to 8 the half. It was 34 to nothing.
Yeah,
I mean, right at the end of the half.
I was thinking about this a lot. I've watched pretty much every snap of Ohio State football since about 2004, which would have made me 9 years old.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen them play a better half. Like I were up on Michigan State a couple of years ago, 49-0, when Michigan State was a top 10 team with CJ Stroud in that group. Like, given the circumstances, like, this is the best half of football I've ever that was the best half of football I've ever seen them play.
Right. I think so. I mean, their efficiency and total domination, because even Oregon couldn't score. The defense was playing just as well as the offense was on the other side.
And I think that's the thing that's scary.
Dominated the game because the defense, completely shut Oregon down, which they had not done the previous game.
Well, it's the tale of two games, because the first game they didn't sack Dylan Gabriel once. They had big zip on sacks. Okay. They had 8 yesterday.
Well, they went after him, didn't they? Didn't give him.
They didn't even go pressures though. The D coordinator Jim Knowles he's just scheming it different. Because he's doing a lot more simulated pressures. He's doing a lot more zone blitzes. And he's doing a lot more stunts and twists and stuff.
Well, and I think I've seen a lot of teams that are doing that. If you watch a lot of these teams, they're doing the schemes they're running twists with the 2 technique and the 5 technique, or even when he's out in the 7, and it's really confusing the defense. We jump back to the Notre Dame game. Georgia's left tackle was just he couldn't be anybody on that left side of the line, no matter who it was. He was having all kinds of trouble. So they had him totally confused, and Georgia never did really anything to put a running back over there on a chip block or anything as kind of a precautionary thing to pick up anything that might come loose.
Well, and I think Georgia tried to chip once, and they left the running back on one of Notre Dame's big D linemen, and it went about as well as you think. I was just thinking, because I think Ohio State and Notre Dame ran a very similar concept, where the four down linemen, I think the 5, or I guess it'd be the 7 tech, he goes out wider and then tries to occupy the tackle, and then meanwhile either the Mike or the Sam linebacker just runs up the gap, because the tackle takes the D end and leaves that gap between the guard and the tackle, and just there.
There's nobody there, or the running back's over on the other side didn't get him in time.
Or you get the running back trying to run a route, and nobody's there. So Oregon didn't turn the ball over, but they had 8 sacks.
Howard was 26, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions, as you said. Now, Dylan Gabriel there were no interceptions in that Oregon game.
I don't think either team turned the ball over.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing I'm looking at. Rushing, Oregon only had 11 yards rushing the whole game. 11.
Sack adjusted, they were like minus 43.
Yeah, that's what I see that. Dylan Gabriel was minus 43.
Yeah. Well, and to be fair to Oregon, Jordan James, the running back, he got hurt. He got hurt really early. in the game. I think he had like 4
Mhm.
carries for like 16 yards or something. Like he didn't play much. But it's like I don't know. Oregon being a historic Pac-10 team. I don't know. Were they really ready for the physicality of the true Big Ten? Kind of like Tennessee,
Yeah,
like Cody Simon, or no, it was either Cody Simon or Lathan Ransom. Cody Simon's a middle linebacker, and Lathan Ransom's one of the safeties. They cracked Nico Iamalieva's helmet last week,
yeah, I saw that in
and
the
then
cold weather.
Dylan Sampson had like 3 carries and didn't play the rest of the game. So like these SEC teams were not ready for Big Ten physicality, that's for sure. And I think
Yeah.
Oregon has the dudes. They're physical. They're big team, and it was a clean game yesterday. There were no fumbles, no picks, no nothing. It's just like I said. I don't know if I've ever seen Ohio State play a better
Yeah.
half. And I mean,
Yeah, they played really well. They're on a hot streak.
the
As bad as it sounds, that Michigan game might have done them a favor because it smacked them right in the face, and they have not. Must have had some good meetings, afterward on that next Monday morning because they're playing awfully well right now.
Yeah, they're just taking souls. I said at the beginning of the year, I think Darren was talking about Notre Dame's defense being up there with the best in the country, and they've been very good all year.
Mm-hmm.
But like
Oh,
Tennessee's offense is good. Oregon's offense all year has been dominant. And like I said it before the year started, and it didn't end up happening throughout the course of the regular season. But I tried to say it. Ohio State's defense had a chance to be generational, like because they brought everybody back,
they
and then
brought
they got
people
Caleb Downs as a transfer,
right.
and Caleb Downs is the best defensive player in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I know the Notre Dame people are going to say Xavier Watts is. Caleb Downs is a true sophomore. He would be a top 5 pick this year. So would Jeremiah Smith. I think Jeremiah Smith would honestly be the number 1 pick now.
Yeah, they
As a
were talking
freshman.
about that. I mean, he's such a freak at what 6'3", 6'4", and about 215, playing wide receiver. Yeah. Well, hey, New Year's Eve. Let's look at the first game that happened. Penn State, Boise. I mean, another example of a mismatch. Boise had a chance, but again, I think Penn State did the same thing to them that Ohio State did with Oregon. They smacked them in the mouth early, jumped out to a good lead, and dared them to come back. And it was 14-7. But Boise only scored 2 touchdowns the whole game. That was in the third quarter. So they never really mounted any comeback threat in the fourth quarter.
No.
Penn State just totally controlled it. Even though you look at the stats.
Maddox Madsen had 3 interceptions. I mean, that's not gonna
that's not gonna help.
A stingy team like Penn State, like it's not gonna help at all. And Ashton Jeanty, God love him. Penn State did to Boise what I thought Georgia would try to do to Notre Dame, and they actually executed it. And they said, okay, we're going to take away Ashton Jeanty. Ashton Jeanty had 30 carries for 104 yards. Like that's easily his lowest output of the year. And
when you look and see Boise threw the ball 35 times.
Yeah.
That's got to be a warning sign right there.
Well, and I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that they got behind really fast.
Rushing. Yeah, they had 300 yards rushing or passing, but again, they were playing catch up from the start.
They were playing from behind the whole game.
It was 14-0 in the first quarter.
Yeah. 14-0 in the first and 17-7 at half.
Yeah, penalties didn't help them at all either. Even though you look at possession, they had the ball 34 minutes. Penn State only had it 25. That's 9 more minutes. But you're playing ball control when you're down 2 touchdowns. That doesn't help any. You need to score. I was looking at some of these other
Warren
games.
had 6 catches with 2 touchdowns. I really think the next week is going to come down to who on Notre Dame can Notre Dame either minimize or just completely eliminate Tyler Warren. Because if they let him go loose, like Tyler Warren's pretty much the only receiver that Penn State has.
Well, here time of the game tonight, I mentioned to Becky, to your mom, that I said, they're going to have to play catch up. I said the pass interference calls are going to be the only way that they get back in the game. Georgia gets back in the game, and then they just happen to have a couple that gave them chances.
I was
had a couple pass interference calls against them.
I was very surprised at how little time Gunnar Stockton had to pass. I thought Georgia's O-line was better than that.
Yeah,
especially with how
true.
depleted Notre Dame's defensive line is.
Well, hey, let's jump on these other New Year's Eve games. New Year's Eve, we had like 5 games during the day. With the first game of the day, whether you like it or not, Michigan, care of Alabama, 19-13.
I thought it was great.
I thought it was a good game
because I think it proved everything that I've been trying to say, that Jalen Milroe's not a quarterback.
Well, I saw today that he's gone ahead and he's applied. He's turned pro. He's going to try to turn pro.
I don't know in what.
I'm just saying.
The joke on the internet always is, oh yeah, he's declaring for the draft, and like, the draft? They haven't had a draft since 1974. I know you're not talking about the NFL draft.
Well, yeah. Where's he fit into that?
He's not going to get drafted.
I know.
He can't throw.
Did you watch any of the Sun Bowl game with Washington and Louisville? That was ended up being a 1-pointer.
I caught it at the
very end. Washington.
Yeah, I caught it at the very end because I think I was watching.
That was the back and forth game. It was kind of fun to watch.
It was,
and Illinois, South Carolina.
That's what it was.
At the same time, yeah.
Yeah.
I had 3 TVs going with 3 different games on. But yeah, that was a fun one to watch. The South Carolina.
Oh, he froze. Well, he is frozen. So, Q, I'll answer your question. Yeah, I don't. Would Jalen Milroe do the old switcheroo like Braxton Miller did? Because Braxton Miller, man, I miss Braxton Miller. He was so good. Braxton Miller tried to make it work as a receiver in the NFL. I thought he did okay. But yeah, Jalen Milroe's not. He's not an NFL QB. Like, he's just not. Here, I'm gonna go full screen back on me while we try to get him unfrozen. If that doesn't help. Yeah, he's frozen. I gotta text him. He froze. Reset your studio. Braxton Miller, Antoine Randall. Yeah, that's a good. Oh, there he is. He's back. He's unfrozen. All right, we're good. Are you back on?
Dead.
Yeah, he froze. It's all right.
I froze up. I'm back here in the back. Sorry about that.
Q was saying, is Jalen Milroe going to be a wide receiver? He could do. He could do the route that Braxton Miller and Antoine Randall L did.
I see that. Yeah, it's probably a good comment. But the thing that I thought was interesting with the Illinois South Carolina game, some of the things the officials were doing. If you watched it, Illinois was screwing with the substitution patterns. South Carolina would sub.
Yeah.
And then Illinois would bring like 2 players in. Then they'd let the snap clock run down under 10. Then they'd sub 2 or 3 more.
Well, I don't know why Georgia didn't do that to Notre Dame tonight.
They could have. South Carolina then had to take timeouts to avoid delay of games. I mean, what they were doing was really, you can't sub twice in the same like that. Once that first substitution comes in, they just had like a steady stream. As soon as 2 guys got close to the huddle, they'd send 1 or 2 more. And I mean, they were doing it on purpose. And I think a lot of it, he was doing that because of what happened earlier in the game, because the South Carolina coach they signal on a kickoff where they put their hands out to show that it was going to be a touchback, that they weren't going to return it. So their players stopped. The guy caught it and took off running.
Yeah.
Like fake deferred catch. That's not an official sign. It's a courtesy sign.
It's not.
And the pros do it all the time.
And Brett Bielema was talking about unwritten rules.
Yeah, he said they told the officials they were going to do that. See, the officials said, yeah, okay. So the officials, they knew it was going to happen, but Illinois obviously didn't. So I think that the Illinois coach was saying, okay, you want to play that game? I can do that too. Watch this. So he just continually subbed like that. So he was giving his own medicine back. So,
Shane Beamer's a little weasel.
Just coaches screwing with each other. And I thought he had Darren Pritchett on here. He's going to tell you how genius it was. Just like in the Notre Dame game when they ran they took the punt team off and brought the people back on the field, and then they jumped. They weren't going to snap it.
No, there's no chance they were going to snap it.
Yeah, the guy jumped offside, so the center snapped it.
Yeah.
So
that's exactly what you want the center to do, though. I mean, that's a great play by the center.
That was play of the game. The center should have got the game ball for that one, for being a smart.
That iced the game.
Yeah, it did, because I think they even mentioned it. Notre Dame ran maybe either 7 or 8 more plays before they ended up punting. 7 more plays is going to run. That's going to be 4 minutes off the clock, and basically put the game to rest.
Yeah, I mean, I told Sophia while we were watching it, with like 10 minutes left, I'm like, if Notre Dame gets one more first down, like it's over, because Georgia couldn't score.
No, and then they put them down at the other end of the field too.
Here from Ricky, I don't know if I'd say Stockton wasn't ready. I didn't say he wasn't ready. I'm just saying there's more than what the stat sheet said. Leonard had 90 passing yards compared to Stockton's 234. Let's not forget it was his first college start. It was his first college start. He's also a junior. Like he's been in the program, and
he was a very highly recruited high school quarterback.
Yeah, Cardale Jones made his second start against Alabama, and they scored 40 points on him 10 years ago.
Yeah,
but
one of the only issues he had was maybe some of the late snap adjustments. You saw him. A lot of times they ran that snap clock down right, 1 or 2 before it got snapped, because maybe Notre Dame had changed some things. Maybe they changed the call, the block assignments, because he's got to call blocking assignments along with the lineman. And that might have been one of the issues. They just never got that, left tackle just never had help blocking people.
Yeah. So, and I'll give Gunnar Stockton the benefit of the doubt. Like, yes, he was making his first college start, and I say he's a junior because he is. Oh, I'm about to sneeze. But having to make your first college start when you basically have no weapons against Notre Dame's defense, yeah, it's tough. And he had 234 in the air, but also, like, I don't know. Remember Michael Smith and Jamel Hill had that show several years ago called Numbers Don't Lie. Like, I don't know. The fact that he threw for 234 is kind of just fluff on the box score, because it didn't really mean anything. They only scored 10 points.
Yeah.
Like Riley Leonard threw for 90, but he also ran for a crap load. And before the half? Yeah, before the half, after they recovered that fumble, that receiver got leverage on that corner so bad. He set him up to the outside. It was beautiful. And he cut in on that slant. And I saw, as soon as he set him up outside, I'm thinking to myself, he's about to break. And he broke in on that slant. And as soon as Riley Leonard let it go, I'm like, that was easy.
I think the fact that Georgia leads the world in dropped passes came back to haunt them again tonight too.
Well, you remember that deep ball that they had?
Dylan Bell had that one hit him right square between the numbers. And
which is bad. It should hit him in the hands.
Well, it never got to his hands. It went before he even touched it. It had bounced off of his shoulders. So
yeah, it's a good point, Ricky.
I think Notre Dame just had a really good plan tonight. the fact that the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator that Freeman has in there are both former pros, and I really showed tonight because they had that team very well, very good scheme set up, and I think they'll do the same thing for State coming up.
I think, and Ricky says again, Marcus put on a clinic against Kirby, and that's something we hardly ever see. Massive props to him and his squad. I just wish my dogs would have been able to catch the ball this year. Yeah, they couldn't catch. I saw Nitro had a yeah. Nitro had
a target. They threw one in the end zone to him.
Yeah.
Down there in the
Which I thought that was weird. I mean, good for Nitro at least for sticking around. If he is, I mean, he said he's going to transfer. I mean, he can always come back. I don't know why you would go down there.
Why would he leave?
Right, he's going to be in the rotation next year for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's just a freshman needs to wait his turn.
Because unless you're Jeremiah Smith or Ryan Williams, you're probably not going to play a whole heck of a lot as a freshman.
Yeah, well, I agree. I agree.
I think I am interested to see because Andy Koltelnicki, the Penn State offensive coordinator, has dialed up some stuff this year. I don't know if Drew Aller's not going to be as easy to maybe mess with scheme wise than Gunnar Stockton was because Drew Aller's been a 4-year starter basically. 3. I think this is his 3rd year. He's going into year 4 next year. So that'll be interesting. And like I've said, like Drew Aller's pretty good. They just don't have any weapons. So again, Notre Dame could make it to the national championship and their corners really never get
challenged.
Yeah. Which is crazy. Because then if Ohio State beats Texas, it's like, okay, I know Texas is hit or miss, right? But you got to play Tennessee. Tennessee, you get a home game, great. And then you got to go to the Rose Bowl to play Oregon. And then you got to play Texas in Arlington. And then you got to turn around and go to Atlanta to play whoever. So, like, I don't know, man. The bracket.
The other thing with Notre Dame will be injuries. I think. What's his name? Cross, the other big.
I think Howard Cross got hurt again, didn't he?
Howard Cross hurt. You know, he's got an ankle brace on his ankle. They were showing that in public. They showed it on national about how some guy named Dr. Furlick from Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah.
And he, it's an ankle brace that you and I've seen since we were kids. It's that real heavy ankle brace. It's got the big knob on the hinge on the outside of it. We've seen, prototypes of it when I was coaching in South Bend for ankle braces. When you get it's really solid. And I'm sure they've fine-tuned it a little bit since then. But somebody else had one on too from another team. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Pat Mahomes with the Chiefs with his high ankle sprain, because that's what it's for high ankle sprains. The key to that, and so that means both of their two techniques are going to be hurt, because I don't know if the other guy will be ready to go next week or not.
I thought he was out.
Played today.
I thought he was finished.
Well, he might be.
If Howard Cross can't play either, like Abdul Carter and Denai Dennis Sutton might have 12 sacks next week. That is if Notre Dame even drops back to pass 12 times. I really think, and Ricky, I have your comment up. I'm going to put it down, but I'll get to it here in a second again. But I think next week, Notre Dame versus Penn State is going to be just copy and paste of this game. And if Penn State doesn't make the colossal mistakes that Georgia made, meaning fumble and give up a touchdown on the very next play and then let the opening kick of the second half go back for touchdown, like, I don't know, Penn State Notre Dame might be 13-10 or like 14-7.
Might be a field goal contest. You're right.
Oh man, that's gonna be tough, because if Howard Cross and God, I can't remember his name. Like I said, I really don't know a whole lot about Notre Dame. I don't know the guys. I've watched them. I just don't know all of them like I do.
Well, Monday we'll get some people on We'll start previewing things Monday, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. So here, Ricky, thank you for the view. I appreciate NIL giving opportunity for smaller schools to get players to compete. Facility started killing team culture. How to find the loyalty in these young guys? Yeah, I mean Nitro was really good, right? He went to Georgia to play. I don't know why Nitro wouldn't want to wait. But it's the thing everybody talks about.
So he's a local kid. He's from up here.
Yeah.
He went to Northwood, which is in Napanee, Indiana, which they were in the 3A state finals last year, or 4A, whatever it is.
Right. It's the thing that irks me to no end is everybody always talks about Ohio State's $20 million roster, not mentioning the fact that Oregon has a higher NIL value, and so does Texas, by the way.
Right.
But
there's some
Ohio State got 6 transfers. The rest of the money spent in NIL was to keep the team they had last year, made up of guys that started their careers at Ohio State, like Jack Sawyer, like JT Tuimoloau, like Cody Simon, like Denzel Burke, like Davison Igmanosin, like Donovan Jackson, who, oh my gosh, Donovan Jackson's the MVP of Ohio State's season, having kicked out to left guard after you lose Josh Simmons, who will go in the first round, and then Seth McLaughlin, who won the Remington as the best center in the country. Ohio State spent their money to keep the team they had because the team they had was really good and probably would have had a good time in the playoffs last year. And then they're like, oh no, they spent $20 million to build a team. No, they didn't. They spent $20 million to keep their team. Oh, and also Nick Saban retired, so Caleb Downs picked the school that he would have picked in the first place if Nick Saban wasn't the coach at Alabama. Because
that's true.
You see all these teams that have, like, Dylan Gabriel's on his 3rd school in 6 years. You know how many schools Jack Sawyer's been to? 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Will Howard's a 5th-year grad transfer. He would have been able to transfer under the old transfer rules. Like this, he would have played this year. He would have played this season. He could have played this season 5-10 years ago because he's a 5th-year grad transfer.
Yeah, and that's one of the topics that we'll probably start bringing up on Monday, on our Monday show, is this new rule that NCAA has with junior colleges. It's turned your college athletes into 6-year players legitimately, and maybe even more, because they can go to a junior college for 2 years.
And it doesn't count against their eligibility.
Yeah, so then they turn around, they can go to a college, a 4-year college, and get 4 more years, plus maybe a redshirt year for a 7th year if they go in there as a year and still not play. Does that categorize them when they go there as a redshirt junior, or I guess since they get 4 years, would be a freshman at age 20 at a 4-year school after 2 years of junior college.
Well, it's like the Cam Rising, the quarterback at Utah, I think is actually eligible to go back. And I think that would be his 8th year next year.
8th year. Yeah. He's like 28 years old.
And Cam McCormick, the tight end from Miami, he just finished his 9th year. He is not eligible to come back. He needs to go get a job. Like, for real.
So the bottom line of all this is that your high school kids are going to be left out, because unless you're just a big time player, you're probably going to end up at a junior college or a smaller NAIA or Division III school or Division II and play. Now, here, I guess the question I was at, if you go play Division II and then you go to a Division I, do you still get 4 years, or does that D2 count as one of your 4 years?
I don't know. I haven't looked into it.
I haven't looked into the details on that, or is that strictly junior? Yeah. So that, that would tell me if there's any question, I'm going to a junior college.
Yeah. Q says that JUCO deal, it's a heck of an internship or apprenticeship program.
Well, yeah, and that means you're going to have a lot of people, especially these quarterbacks, they're just going to stay in the college because it's a sure bet. And then they can pick and choose what college, the pros, and then consequently, what's that going to do to the NFL quarterbacks? You're going to have people like Nick Foles sticking around till he's 45 playing quarterback as a backup somebody because there's no new young blood coming out.
Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna necessarily have a huge effect on like the top echelon of high school recruits.
No,
Because
I
like
agree.
the Bryce Underwoods of the world, the Jeremiah Smiths of the world, like those guys that are like Decorian Moore from Duncanville down here that's going to Oregon, like and Keelan Russell, who's going to Alabama next year, who's the QB at Duncanville.
The under game on this afternoon too, by the way.
Yeah.
It looked like a 7-on-7 summer game is what it turned out to be.
You're not gonna put those guys in harm's way for a game that really doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Most of those guys are already signed, so it doesn't matter.
Just playing for the fun of it. Right.
Yeah, they're playing to make friends, and because like the big time guys, I think I saw, who was it? May have been Naeem Offord, who was in the class at Ohio State for a long time and then flipped on signing day to go to Oregon. He was down there, I think maybe like it wasn't Bryce West. Who am I thinking of? Somebody else. Like they had some big time guys down there.
But like you said, they're not going to. What are they going to flip down there? I mean, most of them are getting ready to go to school just like everybody else. Some of them have already moved in.
Yeah, Bryce Underwood was practicing at Michigan.
Yeah.
Tavian St. Clair and Devin Sanchez, and
there's probably Notre Dame guys that have early. They probably got some early enrollees that have already got a uniform on, sitting there, going through the motions.
Oh yeah, well, like they're a lot of Ohio State. Yeah, oh for sure, because Ohio State's guys that early enrolled, they went to the Rose Bowl. They had jerseys on for the Rose Bowl, or they didn't have jerseys on. They had their warm ups on, the sweatsuits.
Well, and how long you just think the high school walk on it at a school is there even a place for him anymore? The walk on is going to become an extinct thing unless the kid just wants to go to that school and put a jersey on, knowing that he will never play. The preferred walk on, he might as well go to a JUCO and go get.
Well,
get
I think
for 2 years.
It just depends on what you want out of it.
No, I agree.
Because if I was going to walk on at Ohio State, I mean, you would have to know you're never going to play. But it's like, okay, I know I'm never going to play, but I'm going to get to practice against some of the best football players on the planet. I'm going to make a lot of really good friends.
I'm going to get to make nice road trips.
Yeah, I get make all these trips with the team. Get 5-star hotels for road games, except at Penn State because that place is a dump, and state college is impossible to get to.
I've heard that,
and yeah, I mean the experience of it all would be awesome. If you're never going to play, why not? I think there's enough. I think there's still enough like organic love of the sport still going around that like it's not really going to have a huge change on the sport. Like, I don't think JJ Watt is transferring from Central Michigan or walking on at Central Michigan and just becoming somebody overnight. I think if you have the talent, like JJ Watt had, and then you transfer to Wisconsin. But here I got one again from Ricky. Thanks again for leaving the comments, Ricky. Make sure and watch our live shows on Monday. Thoughts on OSU fans calling for Ryan Day's head pre-playoffs? Reminding me of when Dog fans called for Stetson Bennett's head, and then he won 2 titles, and now they love him. Well, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because I think going into the Tennessee game, Ryan Day's seat was very, very hot. Because I think if they had lost to Tennessee, but like looked competitive, like if it was a good game and they lost to Tennessee, like okay, sometimes the ball just doesn't bounce your way. If they had gone out there and gotten embarrassed by Tennessee, I'm thinking like, ooh, okay.
But one of the Ohio State beat writers has said it the best, that like you fight with your family all the time, but then it's like the tightest bonds that people have with interpersonal relationships, like a lot of times emerge from conflict. So I think the lunatic fringe that Kirk Herbstreit talks about, and the people that Nick Saban say need to go to therapy, like, sorry, Saban, like the Ohio State Michigan rivalry means a lot more to people in the Midwest than Auburn versus Alabama. Because for 110, 15, however many years until this year, if you lose that game, you probably have no chance at any postseason success. And so we're going on 4 years now of losing 4 years in a row of losing the game. And then every year prior to this one, except for I guess 2022, because the chips fell and Ohio State made it in, like you lose that game, you got nothing to play for. So now you're in a world where, okay, I think Ryan Day really just has a Michigan problem. But now we're finding out, like, you lose the game and it kind of didn't matter. And it's the weirdest thing. And I think it's going to take people a lot of time to get used to say, okay, do you want to win the game? Absolutely. Is it going to end your season if you don't? Not anymore.
Right.
And like Taylor Lewan and Rich Eisen and Adam Schefter and all the clowns on TV can say, oh, well, we beat you. It's like, yeah, congrats on the ReliaQuest Bowl. Like, okay, if Ohio State wins the national championship, I don't know. Is it going to make losing the rivalry game any less painful? No. Is it a good consolation prize? Yeah. So
I know.
And I think it's fair, because I think the criticism of Ryan Day was very appropriate at the time. The genuine football criticism of it. Because you go into that game at home, you are very much better than them, and then you go and lay an egg.
Well, and the Penn State people have the same opinion of their coach too, because he won every game but Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they were all over him too, and they're playing. So I think it's just that rivalry thing.
I think I said it at the time. November 30th was the first time a Ryan Day team truly lost a game they should not have.
Mm-hmm.
Because the previous, 2021, the rivalry game, snow game, like you're going against Aiden Hutchinson and David Ajabo, like, okay, like Ohio State had won 9 in a row, I think, and 15 of the last 16 or something going back to the turn of the millennium. Like, okay, at a certain point, like at a certain point, you're going to lose the game. 22 at home, like, again, I think Michigan was just better than them that day, that year, honestly. I don't know how they lost to TCU in the playoffs, but I don't know. But I mean, I think 22 is the year that you could really say that they were cheating. If you want to go that route, I don't know. Last year, I mean, they went undefeated and won the national title. Like, what are you going to do? Like last year, they were most definitely probably the better team. And I mean, that was Ohio State's only loss last year. I think they were both undefeated. And now you're finding out this year, like, Ohio State lost a grand total of 2 games by 4 points combined. And
I know it.
So, like, I think, yeah, I don't know. And I'm curious to see what Kenny's going to say on Monday about Kyle McCord versus Will Howard, because I sent you the stats.
Bring it up.
I sent you the stats the other day. Kyle McCord also, like, Kyle McCord led the country, and I know it was passing yards. Did he lead it in touchdowns too? I don't know. But
That
he
part I
also
don't
threw
know.
like 250 more passes than Will Howard did. So like, I don't know. Kyle McCord also threw 5 interceptions and a half,
When you're
and
looking at passing,
Syracuse was
pass
9-3.
efficiency, as I remember, the passing efficiency numbers were better for the Ohio State and Michigan people. Though the Syracuse guy, went volume. He threw a lot of passes.
He threw it 40 times a game, probably.
I know.
And that's what Fran Brown does. Fran Brown just chucks it.
Well, that's why he went there.
Yeah, that's why he wanted to go there. Exactly.
I know. Well, hey, let's finish up. I was just looking at some stuff. Did you see where I broke his leg last night for Detroit?
Oh yeah, Jaden Ivey.
Jaden Ivey. It turned out it was his fibula, which is the unattached bone in the bottom leg. So that should be a quick heal. He just needs to stay off of it, but he'll probably miss a good month. But I saw he got his ankle rolled from the inside out, so it just somehow cracked that bone. But they took him on a stretcher, which was kind of scary. So but we'll talk about that. But let's Monday we're going to go at 6:30, and I'll be here to get this thing fixed up. We'll get this going ahead of time so I can figure out why. I mean, I've got it set up the same way it normally does. But Ricky, appreciate your comments. Q, as always,
we always appreciate it. Yeah,
we're going to go on Mondays again. The restaurant that we have been attending for our podcast had a small fire during the last couple of weeks. Matter of fact, it was a Monday before Christmas, so they're closed down for a little bit for repairs. So I think we're going to be here in the King basement. And I remember too, Q, you may have help. The jersey behind me, I've got a pair of pants that are Stockton pants, the shorties, but they're from the late 70s. They're probably Jeanty time period or early 80s. That are green. I'll get them out for the next show. I need to put them on that Anderson website and see if anybody's interested in these things. I came across a pair of those, and I really don't have any place to do it. And instead of them sitting in my closet, somebody else might enjoy having those as part of their collection of Anderson Indian trivia stuff. So, Scott, thank you for doing this.
Yeah. We'll have to. Thanks, Ricky. Thanks for subscribing. If you're watching still, if you're watching, please subscribe. Hit the thumbs up. Once an Indian, always an Indian, right? Q. I was never one, so you'll have to ask him.
Hey, Q, we are the answer to trivia. We had look and see how many generations of families played in the wigwam. I can tell you, we were 3. My dad played in the wigwam, old wigwam, in the
played in one game.
late 40s. I was there in the 70s, and then Scott played their game because he was one of my South Bend Adams teams. His freshman year, we played down there in 2010, I believe. It was Anderson, 2010, 2011.
So anyways, about 1 minute.
Yep, the Kings were there for 3 generations on that tour. So I know the Tigs had 2, and a lot of families had 2, but we got 3. So I don't know if anyone else can challenge that or not.
Are you guys set on Monday, or can you do Tuesday this week?
I think we're going to go. I'll check with Heck. Right, I think it would have to be Monday because he probably has a ball game Tuesday.
Because I'm flying on Monday.
Okay. Well, are you down on the ground by Monday night?
Nope, I don't get back to DFW until 8:30.
Oh, so we might have to do this by ourselves.
So it'd be a late one.
Yeah, I'll check with Heck. I'll see him tomorrow because I have to help him move some furniture. He bought some furniture and he needs my truck. So I'm in the moving business tomorrow afternoon. So I'm going to sign off. Thank you. Yep, we'll figure it out. We got a couple days.
Thanks, Q. He said one of these days I'm going to have a day off on your show day, and I'm going to show up. Fair warning.
Woo!
Hey. Make an appearance.
We'll have to let you know where we are. I mean, I think it may be a long-term thing. We may be here in the King basement here for quite a while. Just look here. Memphis just beat Florida Atlantic, maybe. Purdue's back on. They're on Fox Sports 1, and IU's on Cock right now. So that's the rest of my evening.
We'll get more into basketball as we go, but we'll sign off on this rapid reaction for the Final Four of college football being set. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all the comments. Make sure to hit the thumb before you sign off, before you get out, or whatever, before you X out of your internet browser. Until next time, this was After Hours with me.
There you go.